is the Chris Abraham Show.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How can I help today?
On 7 show. Just into the show that's all about Dungeons and Dragons and how I'm going to start playing dragons. And you help me?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of season 7 of the Chris Abraham Show. Today's episode is all about the thrilling world of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm excited to share that I'll be diving back into this beloved game, exploring epic adventures, battling fierce monsters, and creating unforgettable stories. So, grab your dice and join me on this fantastic journey into the world of D&D. Let's roll for initiative.
Beautiful introduction. Hey, tomorrow at around 11 a.m., I'm going to play D&D after not playing for over 5 years. And I started playing when I was 13 and 90, or maybe 12 at 1980 or something like that. And so I'm really excited.
That sounds fantastic. It must be exciting to jump back into the game after so many years. Do you know what kind of character you'll be playing tomorrow?
I'm playing a human level 1 fighter.
Nice choice. Human fighters are really versatile and great for getting back into the game. Have you decided on any specific traits or backstory for your character?
Yeah, my dungeon master made the character for me, and it is to eventually be able to... His name is Radley. He'll be able to eventually cast spells. There's a name for a type of spider that... a type of fighter that can do spells. Do you know the name?
Yes, that sounds like an Eldritch Knight. They are a subclass of fighters who can cast spells. Radley sounds like an exciting character to play. Are there any particular spells or abilities you're looking forward to using?
I don't know. I usually play paladins, but it turns out that I'm amoral, and apparently paladins are very righteous. So the dungeon masters and fellow players in previous games tend to give me trouble for that. So I guess being an Eldritch Knight is sort of like almost like being a paladin, without having to commit to a type of committed morality.
That makes a lot of sense. Eldritch Knights offer a lot of the same martial prowess and spellcasting abilities as paladins, but without the strict code of conduct. It sounds like Radley will be a perfect fit for your playstyle. Do you have any specific goals or plans for him in the campaign?
No, I really don't. I'm just going to actually be a follower with regards to this campaign. It's been so long, and I don't think being willful in this campaign is very good, which is why I've allowed Sean, my dungeon master, to create Radley and to help me build a backstory and everything, which is a folk hero backstory. What is a folk hero backstory of an Eldritch Knight?
A folk hero backstory for an Eldritch Knight can be quite compelling. Typically, a folk hero is someone who has gained fame and admiration among the common folk for their deeds and character. For Radley, his backstory could involve something like this. Radley grew up in a small village where he was known for his bravery and kindness. He defended his home and neighbors from threats, both mundane and supernatural. One day, while protecting his village from a band of marauding bandits or a dangerous beast, he discovered a latent magical talent. This newfound power allowed him to wield magic alongside his martial skills, making him a formidable protector. The villagers hailed him as a hero, and stories of his deeds spread far and wide. Radley took up the mantle of an adventurer, hoping to use his abilities to help others and seek out new challenges. This background gives Radley a strong connection to the common people and a motivation to use his powers for good, while also leaving room for his personal journey as an Eldritch Knight. Does this align with what you and Sean have in mind?
It's perfect.
I'm glad you like it. It sounds like Radley is going to be a fantastic character. Enjoy your game tomorrow, and may your dice roll high.
Well, it's really weird. Growing up with aphantasia, I always thought role-playing meant the rolling of the dice and not literally losing yourself into the imagination and hyperphantasia of being part of an actual campaign. As someone with aphantasia, 100% aphantasia, it was a little bit more, I don't know, tactical strategic than it was immersive for me. So going in now, since I discovered 4 years ago about my aphantasia, going in now is going to be a lot easier now that I know I don't have the hyperphantasia skills that maybe other people who are committed to the role-playing have in their life.
That makes a lot of sense. Knowing that you have aphantasia can really help you approach the game in a way that suits your strengths. Focusing on the tactical and strategic aspects can still make for a very engaging and enjoyable experience. It's great that you found a way to participate that works for you. Do you have any particular strategies or approaches in mind for your game tomorrow?
Well, I've never really cottoned that much using figures or anything like that. So it doesn't. I can still have a great imaginary experience without visualizing. I just didn't know how invested and immersed people are who have hyperphantasia. What I really like, and also I'm disappointed by, but I really like, is how automated and app-based Dungeons & Dragons has become, where we're managing the entire campaign back-end using Discord server, and we're also really using a D&D app that's do everything. Like, my character was developed on there by Sean the Dungeon Master, and I can roll dice on there, and we can keep track of hit points on there. And it's just an app that allows you to read. It allows you to share documentation and books and monster manuals and all that other kind of stuff. And in the last 5 to 7 years when I haven't played, everything that's gone online, I don't need to bring big paper, and I don't need to sharpen pencils, and I don't need to go out and buy polyhedron die, and I don't need to buy the D&D player's manual or monster manual or dungeon master manual or manual spells or anything. Everything is app-based and really cool, really exciting that the technology catch up with the game. But I remember all the old ways of having velvet pouches of multi-sided die and having hardcover, garishly illustrated monster manual and player's guide. It's just a different era now, but I'm really excited about it because the bag that I have to bring tomorrow, just an iPad mini, a Galaxy S Ultra, a notebook for kids, a couple pens, and that's it. That's my entire campaign hardware and software.
It's amazing how much technology has streamlined and enhanced the D&D experience. It must feel quite different from the days of physical dice and manuals, but also more convenient and accessible. It sounds like you're well prepared for your game tomorrow with just your iPad, phone, notebook, and pens. Embracing these changes while having that nostalgic appreciation for the old ways seems like the perfect balance. Do you have any favorite memories from your earlier D&D games?
Yeah, I remember Billy Tabuyo was one of the players. I remember his last name's Ben. Anyway, I was a dungeon master, and I would buy all of this like quad graph paper, and I would draw. I would need to, because I don't have hyperphantasia. I would literally come up with ideas, and my hyperphantasia was manifest with a number of quad paper so that I could kind of follow along behind the dungeon master. I could follow along where they were while only giving them sort of oral tradition roleplay experience. But I could keep track of mapping in my head. So I would need to create these huge multi-frame, incredibly large maps that including dungeons, cave networks, including where the bad guys were and all that kind of stuff. I would keep track of that in pens on quad graph paper before, like, for days, the week the campaign happened. So that was how I created my imagination. I would sketch it reality instead of having it in my head. I would analogically, if that's a word, express that onto paper so that I could keep track of them. And people really became attached to their character. Roy Ban, his name was Roy Ban. Roy was so attached to his character that, I mean, it was almost like he would tell me basically that if I ever...
It sounds like you put a lot of effort and creativity into your role as Dungeon Master. Using quad graph paper to draw out detailed maps and scenarios must have taken a lot of time and dedication, especially without the ability to visualize everything in your head. It's impressive how you found a way to bring your imagination to life through those detailed drawings. Roy Ben and the other players must have really appreciated your efforts, given how attached they became to their characters. It's amazing how those early D&D experiences can leave such lasting impressions. Do you think you'll incorporate any of those old school methods or traditions into your new games, even with all the modern tools at your disposal?
No, I'm not the dungeon master. Sean is extremely talented, very much, and has 30 years of uninterrupted experience. I'm going to try to just let go, let dungeon master, let go, let God when it comes to, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to be very submissive in terms of desires and wants of the campaign until I get more confidence and footing. Do not pretend. I know fake it till you make it, but I would rather shadow and experience other people's before I start becoming dominant and dungeon-splaining just because I'm older and played it when I was 13. So I'm going to let story... And I'm going to also understand that people are very much living experience. And even though to me, it is just a game, in many ways, like Monopoly or chess or checker. I mean, now that I know what hyperfantasy is, I realize that chess and checker can become quite a visualized tool. But let's just say, I don't know, tic-tac-toe. To me, it's just a series of roles and a series of progress and a series of relationships within the room. I need to be compassionate to the fact that while we're there, people are really in a crafting immersed in characters, and I need to make a point of not trying to trash on that and let them have their hyper-visual immersed and not kind of, poop on it.
That sounds like a thoughtful and respectful approach. Letting Sean take the lead and observing how the game unfolds will give you a good sense of the group's dynamics and the story's direction. Your awareness and consideration for the immersive experiences of others will surely be appreciated by your fellow players. It's great that you're going into this with an open mind and a willingness to adapt. Enjoy the journey and the new memories you'll create with Radley and your group.
It's amazing how D&D Beyond as an app is so comprehensive. Live in that app, and I'm really looking forward to living in that app tomorrow as a way of rolling, spelling, and being accountable, and also having notes and what is it called, a campaign diary or a campaign log going forward, so that I can refer to things that happened in the past that we share instead of someone taking notes, thing like that. I love the idea that I can then go back, because my memory is probably terrible based on ADHD and aphantasia associated SDAM. I think that being able to track previous campaigns, extensive D&D Beyond campaign notes really allow me to enjoy the continuity between the separate days that we play.
D&D Beyond really is a fantastic tool for keeping everything organized and accessible. It should make your experience much smoother, especially with tracking campaign details and referring back to past sessions. It sounds like it will be a great help in maintaining the continuity and enjoyment of your games. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun with all these modern controls at your fingertips.
Can you tell me the history of D&D? Can you tell me about, how it changed? Why is it called D&D now and not AD&D? What's going on from, the beginning to now? Fifth generation, fourth generation, third generation, 5.5 and sixth generation. What's going on with D&D?
Dungeons & Dragons D&D has a rich and evolving history. Here's an overview of its development from the beginning to now. Origins and early editions. D&D was created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and was first published in 1974 by Tactical Studies Rules, TSR. It was derived from miniature wargames, but introduced elements of fantasy role-playing. The original D&D was a simple set of rules that allowed players to create characters and explore dungeons. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, AD&D, in 1977, TSR released Advanced Dungeons & Dragons AD&D, which was a more complex and structured version of the game. It included multiple rulebooks, such as the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. AD&D became the dominant version of the game throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, 2nd edition. In 1989, TSR released AD&D 2nd edition. This version streamlined some rules and introduced new character options. It was also aimed at making the game more accessible and reducing some of the perceived complexities and ambiguities of the original AD&D. 3rd edition and 3.5. In 2000, Wizards of the Coast of OTC, which acquired TSR in 1997, released D&D 3rd edition. This version was a significant overhaul, introducing the D20 system, which became the basis for many other role-playing games. In 2003, D&D 3.5 was released as a revised version of 3rd edition, addressing some of the issues and balancing 4th edition. In 2008, D&D 4th edition was released. This edition emphasized tactical combat and included many changes to the mechanics and character ability. It was designed to appeal to a new generation of players and incorporated many elements inspired by video games and online play. 5th edition. In 2014, D&D 5th edition, often referred to simply as D&D 5e, was released. This edition aimed to combine the best elements of previous editions while simplifying the rules and making the game more accessible. It focused on storytelling and role-playing, with a streamlined system that still offered depth and customization. 5th edition has been very popular and has brought a significant resurgence in the game's popularity, partly due to the rise of online streaming and shows like Critical Role and Stranger Things. D&D Beyond and Modern Tools. D&D Beyond is a digital toolset that was launched to support 5th edition. It offers character creation, digital rulebooks, and campaign management, integrating modern technology into the game. The app and other digital resources have made it easier for new players to join the game and for groups to manage their campaign. Future editions. There are discussions and playtests for future editions, sometimes referred to as D&D 5.5 or 6th edition, which aim to build on the success of 5e and incorporate player feedback and new design philosophy. The focus is likely to continue balancing accessibility, depth, and inclusivity. The evolution of D&D reflects changing tastes and technological advancements, making the game more inclusive and accessible to a broader audience while maintaining its core appeal.
Well, that's really exciting. I guess the complexity that I assume from AD&D is a lot less, just a lot more, so I don't have to more of a kind of an acting experience than it is a like rolling dice experience.
Yes, that's right. The modern editions, especially 5th edition, have focused a lot on streamlining and making the game more accessible and narrative-driven. It allows players to focus more on storytelling and role-playing rather than just the mechanics and dice rolling. This shift has made the game more appealing to a wider audience and has enhanced the overall experience. It sounds like you'll be able to really enjoy the best of both worlds with your upcoming game.
Well, apparently the most important thing with regards to the dragon snacks. I didn't know that either.
Absolutely. Good snacks are key to a great D&D session. They keep the energy up and make the experience more enjoyable for everyone. Do you have any favorite snacks in mind to bring tomorrow?
Well, the Dungeon Master, Sean, just got back from living 5 years in Germany, so I'm going to go out and get a bunch of like sliced and some really nice German mustard as part of what I'm going to bring.
That sounds like a fantastic idea. Those snacks will definitely be a hit. Especially with Sean's recent return from Germany, it adds a nice touch of personalization to the session. I'm sure everyone will appreciate it.
Well, I've never met anybody who's going to be there, and it's funny because he's having a hard time. Like when he was living in Germany, he had no problem setting up games, but everybody in the D area is so busy all the time and summertime and everybody takes off the summer and everybody's schedule. And it's so funny that he's having a hard time collecting, the 4 people, minimum 4 people, not including him, the minimum 4 players that he wants to keep and who have a proper game. And so it's very frustrating to him how hard it in canceling last minute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It can be really challenging to coordinate schedules, especially with busy lives and summer plans. It sounds like Sean is dedicated and passionate about getting a group together, which is great. Hopefully, as the game progresses and everyone gets more invested, It will become easier to maintain a consistent group. Meeting new people through D&D can also be a lot of fun, and those snacks will surely help break the ice. It sounds like you're off to a great start.
Can you give me 10 pieces of advice for a brand new D&D player, level 1 player who's never played version 5 of D&D Beyond? What are the top 10 things I should know? Even though I've played in the past, it's been a really long time, and I think that the podcast can really help. So if you were to come up with a list of 10 things to consider before your first game or game in a time.
Sure. Here are 10 pieces of advice for a brand new D&D player or someone returning after a long time, especially using D&D Beyond and playing 5th edition. 1. Familiarize yourself with D&D Beyond. Spend some time exploring the D&D Beyond app. Get comfortable with its features like character creation, dice rolling, and accessing rulebooks. 2. Understand your character. Take time to read through your character sheet. Know your character's abilities, spells, and equipment. This will help you make decisions quickly during the game. 3. Read the basic rules. Even if you don't delve deep, reading through the basic rules of 5th edition will help you understand the core mechanics and gameplay flow. Or communicate with your DM. Ask your dungeon master any questions you have about your character, the campaign, or the rules. They're there to help you enjoy the game. 5. Role-playing tips. Don't worry about perfecting your role-playing right away. Focus on your character's motivations and how they would react in different situations. It's more about having fun and developing your character over time. 6. Take notes. Keep a notebook handy to jot down important information during the game. This can include NPC names, plot points, and any quests or tasks. Be open to teamwork. D&D is a collaborative game. Work with your fellow players to solve problems and overcome challenges. It's about building a story together. 8. Embrace mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, especially when you're learning. Everyone at the table is there to have fun, and mistakes can lead to interesting and memorable moments. 9. Stay engaged. Even when it's not your turn, pay attention to what's happening in the game. This helps keep the story cohesive and ensures you're ready when your turn comes. 10. Have fun. The most important thing is to enjoy the game. D&D is a chance to escape, be creative, and share adventures with friends. Embrace the experience and have a great time. These tips should help you feel more prepared and confident as you dive back into the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Enjoy your adventure.
May I add an 11th?
Of course. What's your 11th piece of advice?
Let go, let God. Don't be attached to outcome, and don't get frustrated when things don't go your way. Just roll with the punches.
That's a fantastic addition. Staying flexible and open to the unexpected can make the game even more enjoyable. With this mindset, you're sure to have a great time.
Yeah, I think especially with Sean, because he's not being an adversarial DM, like, is really invested in our happiness. So it's like God. God is invested in our happiness, and our dungeon master is invested in our happiness. We are not adversaries to our dungeon master, and we are not adversaries.
That's a wonderful perspective. Having a dungeon master who is invested in the player's enjoyment and happiness can make a huge difference. It creates a collaborative and supportive environment where everyone can have fun and contribute to the story. It sounds like you're in for a fantastic game with Sean at the helm.
Yeah, I have only 3 more requests from you.
Sure, what are your requests?
Can you do a synopsis of this podcast? Can you do an analysis of this podcast? And then can you do a conclusion and outro of this podcast from ChatGPT?
Absolutely. Here's a synopsis, analysis, and conclusion for your podcast episode. Synopsis. In this episode of The Chris Abraham Show, Chris delves into the world of Dungeons & Dragons, sharing his excitement about returning to the game after a 5-year hiatus. He reflects on his early experiences with D&D, discusses the modern tools like D&D Beyond that have revolutionized gameplay, and offers insights into his new character, Radley, a human level 1 fighter. Chris also provides valuable advice for new and returning players, emphasizing the importance of flexibility and enjoyment in the game. Analysis. This episode combines personal anecdotes with practical advice, making it both engaging and informative for listeners. Chris's passion for D&D shines through as he recounts his early days of drawing maps and creating detailed campaigns on graph paper. His appreciation for the advancements in D&D technology highlights how the game has evolved to become more accessible and streamlined. By sharing his character's backstory and his approach to the upcoming campaign, Chris offers a relatable perspective for both new and veteran players. His advice: including the importance of good snacks and maintaining a flexible mindset, adds a touch of humor and wisdom, making this episode a valuable resource for anyone interested in D&D. Conclusion and outro. As we wrap up this episode, I hope you've enjoyed this journey into the exciting world of Dungeons & Dragons. Whether you're a seasoned player or just starting out, remember that the most important part of the game is to have fun and enjoy the adventure. Embrace the modern tools that make the game more accessible, but also cherish the nostalgia of your early experiences. A big thank you to Sean for being an incredible dungeon master, and to all of you for tuning in. Don't forget to bring your best snacks to your next session and roll with the punches. Until next time, this is Chris Abraham, signing off. Happy adventuring, everyone. How does that sound?
It sounds really great. I really appreciate that as being my guest host on episode 7 of the Chris Abraham Show.
It was my pleasure to be your guest host. I'm glad I could help. Best of luck with your D&D session tomorrow. Have an amazing time with Radley and your group.
Aloha, nui loa, and mahalo.
Aloha, nui loa, and mahalo. Enjoy your adventure. Goodbye. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to The Chris Abraham Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.